Good afternoon. It is May the 5th, or the 5th, the 2nd. And we've got a healthy amount of topics to discuss today in the world of the Musk companies, EVs, and green living. So we've got a couple of guests joining us later today, and let's get started. I want to start with I stayed up till 3 this morning to watch the splashdown of the Crew Dragon. So let's share that on the screen with you. There we go. And so this happened at exactly, was it 3 o'clock on the dot this morning, and Dragon came down. It was the second spacecraft in decades to splash down in the dark, and it was quite a thing to see. And over here, they set the record for 167 days in space, which is the longest duration space mission since the end of Skylab. It's a shame that we let Skylab go to waste. But that's what we've got there. Let me see what this is real quick. All right, Omar's on the way. Good morning, Robert William. Hey, Luna. I guess it's evening to you, because afternoon for me. Or is it early morning? And then Luna says hi. All right, so let's get started on. We're going to circle back to the space, unless you guys in the chat have something to say about it real quick. Once Omar joins in, we'll have a discussion on that. On last Monday, the Monday recently, we did a coverage of the earnings call right here on the channel. We did a live stream with our friends from the Tesla Life Show. And if you are subscribed to the Tesla Life podcast, we put it up as episode 198.5. It's a special edition podcast where you can hear all of the remarks from Tesla and everyone else, as well as our take on it is the latter half of the show. Robert Williams says it is 6:13 there. Look at that. All right, so I was right on the evening. Not a bad time. What everybody's having for dinner? I just had a plant-based sausage sandwich. All right, so on those earnings, we learned some unique items, like that the 4860s have not yet been deployed, and pizza. There we go. Good morning, Omar, or afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Oh, you went silent there. Did you mute yourself on accident? Oh, there you are.
No?
I hear you now. Okay,
Can you hear
perfect.
me now? Okay,
I hear
good.
you now. All right, so what we just introduced on stream was the SpaceX Splashdown this morning at 3 a.m. Oof, I am sleepy.
3 a.m. Yeah, that's a little early.
It was. I was on my way to bed, and I was like, it's only a few minutes till then they undocked, and I was like, oh, okay, that shouldn't take long. And then it took longer than I expected, and I ended up staying early. But it was exciting because this was the first night splashdown since Apollo 8 in the 60s. So we like to splash down in the day.
Yeah.
So this crew of 4, they set the new space duration since Skylab of 167 days in space.
That's a long time.
Then I brought in the fact that we did a stream last week on the earnings call, and then we were about to get into the news.
Awesome.
All right. So first up, SpaceX launches. So that we had the SpaceX deorbit burn and landing, and on Friday they were scheduled to do a suborbital hop of serial number 15 of Starship, and that one ended up canceling without a static fire or anything. So I'm curious what happened there. Nothing really hit the public news on that, and it looks like they might try again this week. But they did get their FAA approvals for 15, 16, and 17, so it should be a lot more rapid of a testing procedure than we saw with the last three, four actually, Starship ships.
I think they're just trying to get it, give themselves the most opportunity for success as possible on them. I mean, of course, it's a learning process and they're all test vehicles, but still, you know, as close they can get to success as possible is great. Because if they can start having success, I mean, they have to start having some success with these so they can get to the moon
Absolutely.
and beyond.
And beyond. Mars, and then who knows where it goes from there.
I'm ready to occupy Mars.
Right? I would love to see what. I'd like to go on a trip around the Earth even. So I'm gonna get something queued up while we finish discussing SpaceX here. It's from our friend Arash about the Ford Mach-E. This is coming up on the heels of our. Well, I didn't want to share it yet. The computer's being helpful. It's about our friends at Consumer Reports. We discussed the last couple of weeks after the Texas incident. They jumped on with this non sequitur, unrelated demo of them totally bypassing all of the safety features on the car one at a time until the car would let them do something that they weren't supposed to do. Well, in that same article, video hit piece, they recommended the Ford Copilot and the GM Super Cruise. Well, Arash
Because
and
that
his
can't be
friend,
defeated.
because it can't be defeated.
That's
They're
perfect. Okay.
super safe. So he got together with Ryan from the Kilowatts, and they took out Ryan's Mach E that he rents over on Turo, and well, let me show you. Make this bigger.
Yes. Let's see how that went.
Let's see how it went, because I think it's going to go exactly like Consumer Reports said that we should do.
What about if you unbuckle your seatbelt?
This is from his Twitter.
Oh, that's interesting.
Nothing happens. It's still
That's
it's
interesting.
Still active.
Yeah, that's concerning. I would not recommend that ever.
And let's say I take off my
This is the
seatbelt.
Tesla.
Okay. So I was confused. I thought the car was autonomous. I can take off my seatbelt and get in the back. No, the car's not letting me. It tells me every single time you have to monitor. And when I took my seatbelt off, it stayed in the lane, but it slowed down.
What about if
So,
How
you go
about that?
first.
I mean, here's the thing: any system can be defeated if you're determined
Sure.
enough, right?
Yeah, if you're
If you
actively defeating it.
if you figure out how it works, you know how. If you know enough about how it works, you can figure out a way to defeat just about anything, right? So, I mean, and obviously they've built in plenty of safety features in with it because they want it to be as safe as possible.
Yeah.
And if you use it the way it's intended, it's gonna be safe.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's been proven that autopilot is safer having it than not having it.
Yeah.
That's statistically proven facts. So
Exactly.
I mean, we're heading towards this world of autonomous driving that's gonna happen eventually. It's not a matter of if, that's a matter of when. So as far as I'm concerned, the sooner the better.
Yeah. So, I mean, this one, I watched his blog on it, and they were able to multiple times. They didn't do anything special. Literally, all Ryan did was just unbuckle the seatbelt. You got 2 seatbelt chimes from the Ford, and that was it. There was no trying to do anything with it. And as we saw with the Tesla, simply unbuckling the seatbelt was enough to let them know. They didn't have to do any trickery where they sit on the seatbelt and get out of the chair and all. No. Come on, Ford. This is a car that can be updated. You need to fix this. And Consumer Reports, get on it with another hit piece, because if not, then there's they're going to say that you're biased. And based on all of the stuff you've written on autopilot, summon, smart summon, you really do look a little biased. So
Well, I
this is
mean,
just
they,
upsetting.
I'm sure there's some bias built in. It's baked into the cake with them.
Yeah. All right, so that was our Ford Copilot 360, and that ended at. Oh man, my timer's moved over to the side. I don't like that. All right, so let's call that 11 minutes.
So I had the
So
opportunity yesterday to
yeah,
do some testing with a Model Y,
how'd you like it?
and it was the first time I drove a Model Y, and
Yeah,
I'd driven the 3 before. I obviously I have a Model S. It was the first time I drove a Y. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. It was a very comfortable ride. Um, it had been the first time I had been in a vehicle with the autopilot in a long time, so it was the first time experiencing it firsthand, the updated version, and it
yeah.
was quite impressive. I was impressed with how well it did.
Yeah, I'm
So,
loving it. I can't wait until they give us the next update because it looks exciting.
hello, Nathan, and everybody else
Hey,
out there.
Nathan. Indeed. So that Ford Copilot is not yet tracking eyes yet either. So that's going to happen at the next major update. Ford tells us. So maybe at that point they can also put in a check for the seatbelt, maybe some weight on the driver's seat. I get why both Ford and Tesla don't care about the weight being lifted from the driver's seat because when you think about it, both of them have some experience with cold weather. If you take off your coat, a lot of people will, kind of underneath the seatbelt, wiggle out of the coat and then kind of get off of the winter coat. And, or if you want to just, adjust yourself, if you lift off the seat and the car slams into park, that's not optimal.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Hey, David. So another cool thing that came up for us was the, I'm not even sure how to pronounce this guy. The Aura Punk Cat is how it goes. So let's share screen, share this window. There. So the Aura Punk Cat looks a little familiar, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, it does.
Oops, I didn't mean to go to the article. I wanted the picture. So Volkswagen also thought it looked a little familiar, and they are looking into what legal action they can take on the matter.
I mean, that is definitely the exact design language of a Beetle.
Yeah. Other than this
I mean,
window coming all the way down, that
and other than the window coming in all the way down and the fact that it's 4-door, but
yeah, 4-door with
I
shaved
mean,
handles. But I mean, people have been shaving handles off the Beetle for a while. And then this guy brings up a
yeah.
really good point. Does Volkswagen really want to bring it up? And if they do, I would be curious to see what they had to say about the Nazis stealing this design from the original manufacturer.
Yeah.
Because they were from what I understand, they were nigh on identical.
But the other thing is, I mean, the fact that it's not identical, it is very, very similar. There's a
Yeah,
lot of cars that are very similar to each other. So, I mean, do they really completely have a stronghold on just that kind of look? I
it's a good
mean,
question. And is it worth the money to find out for VW? I mean, they're in a little bit of a spending spree right now. They gotta get all their stuff transitioned to EV. They gotta keep fighting all the fines they keep generating from their gas and diesel. So it'll be curious to watch this, and as we hear more in this space, we'll let you know. And it'll be fun to watch. But the reason I brought that one up today was because we talked about them last week on the show, and it was kind of interesting to do a little follow up. So there we go. So we've got a Model S Plaid delivery update.
all right, when are you getting yours, Casey?
Not mine. I if I came across some extra scratch, I would definitely lay it down on that because as fun as mine is to drive, I can only imagine what one that can do 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds would be like. It's gonna be a
I'd love to
blast.
play with that, but yeah, that's definitely out of my budget.
Yeah. Robert Williams says some people can't wear safety belts. What are things for that? They do have seatbelt extenders here in the States. I don't know if they sell them anywhere else. For our statistical girth over here, you can get an extra, was it 8 inches, 6 inches, or so of seatbelt?
Yeah, I don't know how long they are, but I have seen the extensions.
Yeah. And so basically, this plugs into the belt, and then your belt plugs into this to make sure that it can get around. Say you happen to be uh, the
Too
guy I
large for the
saw.
standard length.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Let's call it that. Too large for what's equipped. The guy I had to order one for when I worked for Toyota, I think he was 700 pounds, and took a little while to get it in, and then we had to sign a waiver to make sure that he wasn't going to use it for the airbag defeat, seatbelt defeat, and that he was going to make sure that his guests, anyone else who drove the car, knew that he had it equipped and what it was for. I don't know if that was just Toyota or if that was Florida, but they were pretty wanted to make sure that we were safe with that. Yeah, it's basically what happens when they're larger. I mean, there are other people who have other issues with it, and I get that, but they should also have a solution from their doctor and from wherever they buy the car from, or their upfitter if they are disabled enough to need an upfitter. What's up, Andrews?
Good evening, Andrews. Thanks for watching all the way from Sweden.
Yeah. And David is, I'm an ex-owner. What year? My year is 2018 and a half. It was built in August of 2018. And I'm grateful for that because it came with a bunch of extra little tiny tweaks that made it a little more enjoyable to own and a little more robust than the cars that came before it. And it's a 7-seat. We waited until the 2017 came out to get the folding 7 seats because I didn't want to trade in our Model S and then lose cargo room. The motorized seats are pretty, but they weren't practical for what we were going for. And then we also got MCU2 because of it. Hey, Elijah. Or Elijah's dad. Hey, yes. I like watching his channel. He does a good job. All right. So, yes, so we talked about the Model S Plaid deliveries, but what's up with it is they're delayed again.
Yeah, that part.
It's looking like the third quarter we're going to start to see deliveries, and one of our friends actually ordered the Plaid Plus, and we kind of prodded him once we found out about this and said, "Hey, when's your car coming?" And he said they never actually gave him a date, but they kind of implied at the end of the year. But now that the regular Plaid car is coming out at the end of the year, we're wondering if he might see his before New Year or not. But he's not. I mean, he's excited, but he's not without a car until then. So the wait will just mean that he gets a better car when he does receive it. But there are others. Like I have a friend in Charleston who sold his car to get the Plaid, and this makes it fun for him.
Now, I'm curious about the delays, like the reasoning behind the delays. Like, I'm wondering if it's supply constraints, if there's issues with chip manufacturing, or some other any other issues that may be occurring, causing it.
Based on Elon's remarks during the earnings call, it seemed to me that it's a combo of waiting for all the parts to come in, which sounds like he made a breakthrough based on his tweets of getting the parts to come in shortly before the earnings call, and then them trying to get all the software configured to work with the existing system, and then getting it all dialed in. Because we're still seeing cars that are test cars running around without the wood or ceramic trim, and so it looks like they're still trying to nail everything in correctly, which on a car with no stalks, that might be the best way to go, is make sure it's not going to select the wrong direction almost ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still think, I mean, that's pretty bold,
Yes.
for Elon to go there, to not have any stalks. I'm just, I don't know. I mean, part of the problem is we're so everybody's so in the habit of driving the way we drive, right? You
Yeah,
just flick your finger for the turn signal, right? You're used to having a gear selector be a physical thing, whether it's down in the middle next to you or whether it's up on the steering column. Either
yeah.
way, that's a whole new thing to get used to.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be a little weird coming from the Model S and X, where um, the gear shift is kind of right there at my pinky. Now you got to take your hand off and go to the screen if it doesn't pick what you want to pick. It's not that far. I mean, it's here, but right now I don't have to move my hand at all for the gear stock. But for my Chevy Volt, I had to come all the way down to the center and use this big mechanical, good for no reason for it to be that size and shape. It was an electronic um, uh, selector. There was no reason for it to be that large. And my Prius was similar to the Reach. You had to come over, and instead of going over to the screen and out, you were coming over and down and playing with that. And your Leaf is the same way. You got to come over and down,
The
but at
leaf,
least
you have
it's
to
not.
come down to the center.
Yeah.
My leaf, it's a little knobby thing that's really weird. It kind of you move it down. It's like
It looks funny.
almost like a little little video game controller or something. Like, what is this?
Yes. But the one thing I do like though is the turn signals have moved to the face of the wheel, so that is like right where I already keep it for the volume controls. So just
Well,
depending on how ergonomic
that's
they
interesting,
place
but
them.
you still have to get that's something else to get used to though, because if you're used to
Mhm.
all traditional cars, they're having a just a stalk on your left side to
Yeah,
flick it for the turn signal. You're just used to just flicking a stalk. So you're gonna go,
yeah.
oh wait, it's not there. What do I do again? Oh, that's
Well,
right.
I run into that already when I turn off my high beams because sometimes my auto high beams are a jerk and they just try to blind everybody or they flashing like crazy and I don't want to draw attention to myself while I'm rolling down the road. And so once I have turned off the auto high beams, the turn signal stock is now in a different place than where I'm used to reaching for. So I was excited about it always being in the same place, other than it turning with the wheel now, which will be an interesting situation. But I already have that when I go to change songs in the middle of a turn, so it's not going to be that big for me. But it will be awesome to have less chances of it being in a different place than I'm reaching for. But you have a point though. If you're used to it and you've never had to have it change positions on you, that's going to be something new to get used to.
And for like somebody like me who transitions and drives different cars,
Hmm.
so like I drive my Tesla primarily on the weekend now, and then during the week I drive my Leaf when I'm
Yeah.
driving back to work. So going from one car to another car, or you have some people that drive another vehicle for work or whatever. When you're going back and forth, that's just going to be a strange transition for some people.
Yes. I think it'll be similar to right now. We hear a lot of stories about folks who get a rental car or drive their spouse's car, and they leave it running with the keys inside. Coming from
Or
any Tesla or any EV.
or the first time you go to stop, you don't realize, oh, there's no regen.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That gets me every winter with the Tesla too. The very first cold stop is like, oh, and
Oh
then
yeah,
after that, every time
yeah.
I get in, I remember. But it's fun. And Robert Williams brings up a good point about the folks with sternum defects. Yeah, but in that case, you can get it converted to a harness, or you can get something that allows you to be restrained to the car without using a regular seatbelt. That way, you can be as safe as possible without risking further injury. Because I mean, the windshield doesn't in physics. They don't care. They'll let you go through it if you're not restrained.
Well, not only that, if you're the driver and you're driving and you're not restrained and you don't have a seatbelt, that steering wheel is not going to do you any good either if you hit that.
Yeah, the airbag might help, but you might go over it. He also says, "Remember when the cars were buttons? The three of them on the dashboard." Yes, it's back now though. Like when you look at the Hondas and the Chevrolets, or not Chevrolets, Hondas and Chryslers. There's like push buttons. Some of them have funny shapes, so you don't accidentally hit reverse or drive when you're in the wrong position. But other than that, it's back.
Yeah, they're bringing the buttons back.
Yeah. Yeah, the heated steering wheel though is finally an option now on the Model 3 and Model Y.
Right.
I don't know if you can retrofit it, but whenever it's time for another one, they finally did it. So I'm excited about that because my Model S was my first heated steering wheel, and I was like, I don't need this. And then my first winter, man, it was super nice, super nice.
Yeah, I remember when I first got my Model S, um, I had a Leaf prior to that. So my 2012 Leaf, it had the heating steering wheel. I just assumed that my Model S would have a heated steering wheel, especially since I got it at the time with the cold weather package that they were selling.
Yes.
And I'm like, how does a cold weather package not have a heated steering wheel? Like, this makes zero sense to me. And how does this car that's so much more money than the Leaf was have what the Leaf had? It blew my mind.
Yes, I'm glad that enough former Leaf owners got on Tesla about that. It's a shame that they didn't retrofit it for you. I mean, I'm sure that would have been worth at least $100 or two plus the labor. Yeah, that's always fun too. Thankfully, here in the States, they're a lot more restrictive about Prendle on the automatics. It has to be park reverse neutral drive and low if there's a low. And then 1-2 if you have the option to pick what gears and they're not on the drive or you can back and forth. Because that could be a mess. But the reverse though is always fun because like even on a manual transmission, sometimes reverse is up and to the left or down and to the left, and other times it's down and to the right. Very rarely I've seen it. It's up and to the right. And then good luck if they're not labeled. The good thing is you find out while you're in the parking lot, but the bad thing is if you're in a parking lot on a hill, that's fun.
Ooh,
Hopefully you're the one who put it there.
right.
But like if it's a rental car or something, or you're just borrowing it from a friend, it's like, and they don't remind you, hey, reverse is down and to the right. You drive it. Hopefully there's a parking stop or something. 'Cause, oh man.
Well,
Yeah,
luckily,
Andrews.
EVs don't have that problem.
Yep. So Andrews brings up one that we were going to get to later in the show, but we'll do it now. Let me write the time at um, 28. So we're going to talk about the Boombox PWS retrofit. So I did a video on the channel here about how to tell if your car is pre-wired and how to order the part number, what the part number is, and all that. But now Tesla has made it easier. If your car is one of the ones that came pre-wired, you can schedule service, and next time you're in the service department or next time you have mobile service out, you can have them install the pedestrian warning system, which includes boombox, the custom horns. The custom horns only work when you're in park, though. Otherwise, when you're in any other gear, if you hit the custom horn, you'll get a beep, and whatever your horn is, a fart, MP3, whatever. But what is it? About $100, $200, and they'll take care of you. So that will be on Model 3s from 2019, Model S and X from 2020 April, and any Model Ys that shipped without the system. All the Model Ys are pre-wired, so if your Model Y doesn't make any noise in reverse, they'll hook you up. What do you think about that, Nor?
Um, so it's great. It's great that they can retrofit it. They're putting them in. It's great that to have that as an option for it to for you to be able to have it. Um, but my first thoughts on that to begin with was the regulations that required it in the first place. I just thought was totally unnecessary.
Oh yeah,
Um, I
optics.
can understand, I guess, if you're reversing it making some type of a noise just because.
Reverse is the least offensive. I mean, it's an annoying sound, but it's the least offensive excuse they have on the EV.
Right.
But the fact that the lobbying group for the blind did it and then patronized us all, saying that that you can't hear the car coming, but yet they only apply the regulation to cars that have a specific powertrain and ignored all the fossil cars that do make less noise than any EV, like some of the Bentleys, some of the uh,
I've
Rolls
seen some,
Royces.
I've seen not even super high end cars like that. I've seen some regular fossil vehicles that are just as quiet as an EV when they're, you know, in a parking lot at really, really low speeds. As long as they're not gunning the engine to try to be on a hurry up, they're just as quiet. And the only thing you're really hearing is the the noise from the tires
Yeah,
on the concrete. So and and the thing is, I had talked to I had the opportunity to talk to somebody who actually is vision impaired, and this person told me like a bigger problem for them is actually noise pollution. So you have
yes,
vehicles like motorcycles or something that are so loud they can be further away, but they're so loud they're drowning out anything that's near them. So
yes.
that's a bigger problem than just the vehicles being quiet to begin with. And so
Well,
I don't
plus
know.
their whole excuse was that that we couldn't hear that the blind couldn't hear us. There's two problems with that. One is that they don't want to spend the extra resources to train the dogs to listen for tires, the hearing dogs or the seeing eye dogs, whichever. The dogs that assist the folks, they didn't want to train them to listen for the cars. It started with the Prius actually, because sometimes the Prius doesn't run the engine, and they got really into it and they got overruled. I guess the fossil industry had a little bit more money than they did, but the EV industry didn't have what it took to stand up to the second run on it. And the other part of that is, other than it being improperly applied, like literally, it should apply to any car that is quieter than X. Then it would be fair, uh, rather than hey, if it's a hybrid or if it's a EV, then it needs to have a cat bell on it. Come on, guys. The other part of that is that it's my responsibility as a driver. If I hit somebody, that's on me. Whether it's making a noise or not, if I hit you, I'm the one who has to face the consequences.
Right, because the pedestrian's going to have the right of way, especially in a parking lot or any low speed situation. So you're as a driver, you're always responsible.
Yeah. I mean, there are very, very few side cases. Like somebody jumps out from between two cars at the last possible second without you being able to see them. You still have to deal with that right away. But then eventually, you might get some leniency. But it's kind of tough to get that leniency. It's another good point to have a dash cam out, because if there's nobody around and you say that, oh, they jumped out at me, and it doesn't look like it, and then you've got the video, then you can actually argue your case. I didn't actually see that one, Robert William. And let's see. Son is looking for a used 2018 X75D. Anything to look for are general observations on the used market. I did emphasize test driving the new Y, but he wants the big capacity for future family. Okay. How many seats? If he's looking at 6 seats, they're all going to be the power seats. If he's looking at 7 seat, then they'll be like mine, where you can fold over the middle row and still leave the second row, the third row up, or you can fold them all down and have more cargo room. If it has 20-inch wheels, you can tow 5,000 pounds, and if it has the 22s, you can tow 3,500 pounds. But with the 22s, you also got to worry about it being more susceptible to wheel damage from potholes, etc. And you'll get better ride quality and better fuel economy on the 20s as well. Yeah.
And that applies for any vehicle really. The larger the wheel size,
Yeah.
and the smaller amount of rubber you have, which is basically a low profile, um, it just changes the ride quality and the susceptibility to damage from potholes and such. Although
And
they do look nice.
they do. They look sweet. Uh, so for that one, I would probably end up with 2 sets of wheels, one for show and one for my everyday. But I've got black 20s on mine right now. They what they call them, the Sonic Carbons. They're beautiful. So for 2 rows, That's going to be the 5-seat, and you don't have to worry as much about it because the middle row is fixed. You can lean it back in each of the positions, and you can fold them over. And then behind that seat where I have a third row, you would actually have a cover that you can lift up and put more stuff in. So that's always nice. And that still has the same load floor when you put the cover down. But if you need something to be a little longer, a little taller, like it's TV or something, you can then remove that part of the floor and you've got extra storage, which is nice.
Yeah, that's definitely the one that have the most cargo room because you won't have that third row.
Yes.
But
Seems
if
like
all you need is 5 seats, now you know Model Y might be. You might want to take that into consideration. I mean,
absolutely. I know he
definitely
won't hear it, but at
look
least
at
get him to
both. Like
drive it.
don't just overlook the Y. Like look at both because I
And this
mean
is coming
there's
from
a hefty price difference between the Y and the X.
yes. And this is coming from two Model S owners and a Model X owner, and somebody who's looking at the Model Y. If for some reason I couldn't get my Model X today, like say something happened to it, and I was given the same amount of cash, I would keep the extra cash and I would get a Model Y. Probably not the 7-seater for that one, but depending on what we were doing, we might also get the 7-seater on that one too, knowing that it's got a smaller third row than mine. So for this one, I titled it "Gonna Need More Than a Lab. You're gonna need a whole plant." So for that, what I'm talking about is the Ford. They're taking steps to making new battery cells for electric vehicles following Tesla and GM. So they're going to announce they have announced $185 million investment into a battery lab as a step towards manufacturing their own EVs, and the funds are going to go towards a Ford Ion Park in Detroit. It's going to be a pilot facility.
So a
But the
lab is
reason,
great. It's great to
yeah,
do research. R&D is always good. It's always good to do R&D. But yeah, they're definitely gonna need a whole factory because, like, I mean, just like Elon said, creating a one-off of something, a prototype or whatever, that's the easy
it's easy.
part.
Yeah,
It's the whole, mass
do it a million
manufacturing
times.
and putting that mass production. That's the really, really hard part. So,
Yeah,
I I
making one is
mean,
easy. Making a million is difficult.
I mean, unless they're gonna maybe they're what they're planning to do is use that lab, you know, to figure out the best manufacturing process for mass production of whatever new type of battery tech that they're trying to develop in that lab, and then make it on a
Why
small
not both?
scale. Make it on
Yeah,
a small scale, and then maybe they're gonna retrofit one of their factories, decommission something, stop doing, one of their ICE vehicles or something, and put new machinery and new things into that factory, and then just build it out from there and manufacture their battery. Just switch the plant over to doing batteries or something. I mean that could be a possibility, maybe.
it could be, but I'm gonna
I
go
mean,
with
I
why
hope
not
that's their
both me?
plan.
Because right now you've got Tesla, Volkswagen, General Motors, technically Nissan, even though they spun off the battery division, it's still exclusively making batteries for Nissan. They all have their own plants, and they're making a ton more EVs than everybody else. Um, if you're buying on the open market, you're at the whim of the open market. Uh,
Right. And so in order to compete, competitively with price, it's I mean, being vertically integrated with making your own batteries or having that dedicated, battery factory for you, that's really going to be the only way to go.
exactly, exactly. I mean, because Detroit is a great place to put it, especially since they're going to be making some cars there, and they've got a skilled workforce, and they know how to put stuff together. You just need to give them something to do, and you can always at the model year you could take out the equipment because they do stuff on model years. You could take out the equipment that you don't need for the new cells and retrofit it. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of extra cost involved, but that makes you more insulated from the whims of the market. As we've seen with several manufacturers, when they want to ramp up, they can't. And so all they do instead is raise prices, or they just kind of make it seem like the model year ended early. And you don't want to
Yeah,
you
or
don't
they
want to
stop
be.
selling that particular type of vehicle and say, "Oh, we're just scrapping that, and we're gonna just wait until our new thing comes out, whatever
Yeah.
that is."
You don't want to you don't want your core competencies to be made by somebody else. That's the reason that the combustion manufacturers don't let anybody else make their engines, with very few exceptions. And even then, when they buy their engines from somebody else, they usually buy it from either a specialty engine builder like Cummins, or from a whole nother manufacturer that like when people buy the LS engines. 'Cause that's something they're really good at. But if they offended GM, all of a sudden their LS engine supply is gone, isn't it? So,
Right.
yeah. So speaking of batteries, let's take a look at 4153, and let's close this one and open my screen. Boom. So Tesla has fully repaid the $614 million loan that they got at the Shanghai Gigafactory. Oh, they removed the post. But here's the link.
They service their debt. That's what they do.
Yep.
I mean, just like this it reminds me of the time years ago when and there was a lot of criticism behind this when back with the around I think it was about '08 with the financial disaster. When at the time President Obama decided to bail out the auto industry and caught a lot of flack. Tesla had got a government loan for a really cheap interest rate,
Yep. Tesla,
and
Ford, and Nissan.
right, Tesla, Ford, and Nissan. And the funny thing is, out of Tesla, Ford, and Nissan, guess who paid it back first
With interest.
with interest? Tesla.
Yep. All right,
And
initials being a minute interest. Yeah.
it's
And
like,
then,
you know, it's great. They get a loan, do their thing, and then just pay it off.
that's the way to do it. It's good business. I mean, I understand waiting as long as possible. I mean, I'm not faulting Ford for that. They're exercising the terms that they signed up for, but it also helps when you are the target of smear campaigns. I mean, this also applies to Ford. When they bring out their EVs, people are like, "Oh, well, this is just government money, blah blah blah." Well, you can't say that anymore about Tesla, because within the first, was it 2 years, they paid it back with interest. And well, no, it was 2012 from 2008. So either way, it was early with interest, and now they've already paid off the Chinese banking industry, or the Chinese government, for their loan. So you can't say that they're beholden to the Chinese, other than their customers. So just removing that sword of Damocles above your head.
The other thing is it's kind of a testament to how popular they are. Like their vehicles are making them a lot of money. And then the funny
They
thing is,
are.
like, when we looked at like their earnings call, like the large bulk of their money is made from their sales. Um, there's some people that try to criticize them and say, "Oh, well, they're making their profits from um other manufacturers buying the credits from them, or whatever, or s- some kind of government subsidies or something, this, that, and the other." And it's like, well, no, that's that's not how they're profitable. I mean, at one point
Right.
in time, that there may have been some truth to that. However, now I mean, they're on a roll. They're
Yeah, the money they get from selling emissions credits, or from servicing other manufacturers, or anything like that, is all just gravy money. They can use that to not spend their money, or they can use it to lower prices. They can, because right now they don't look profitable because they're spending all of their money on capital investments. They're or capital
I mean,
expenditures. But
they got multiple factories being built right now.
yeah, they're building three of the largest factories in the world simultaneously in cash.
Right.
They've got the Gigafactory 1 isn't even finished yet. They've got Gigafactory, so that's Nevada. They've got Gigafactory Berlin, Gigafactory Terrafactory Austin. They've got the third phase of Gigafactory Shanghai. It looks like there's going to be one in India, and they're doing all of this without bringing in extra cash money. Yeah, and exactly, David. Strong
Right,
R&D
and the
spending as
R&D.
well.
Exactly.
And it's incredible. And people are complaining about the couple hundred million a year for this or that. Oh, they sold 5% of their Bitcoin holdings. So what? It was free money. They made a killing on it.
Exactly.
What's wrong with taking a little profit?
So they bought some Bitcoin.
Yeah.
From the time that they bought Bitcoin to the time that they sold off some of it, it like
hmm
doubled in value. So they took a little bit of that profit and shaved a little bit of that off.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I don't see a problem there.
Right. I mean,
Um,
I've sold some stocks sometimes to take advantage of a little bit of an upswing.
the other thing is what's interesting is so when you look at their books, because um, Bitcoin is too new and it's not linked to like any type of fiat currency. It's not like, they bought up a bunch of euros to have on hand. So it's not tied to the central banks.
hmm
Banks don't know how to look at Bitcoin, so they
Yeah.
don't give it any value. It's like buying a whole bunch of baseball cards or something, right? It's like it's
Yeah.
something that, oh, this is valuable. I can sell this later someday for profit, but just the fact that you have it, it just, as far as on the books, it's not even. It's like that money disappeared, so it makes it look like they actually spent more money than they actually did
Yeah.
from the money that they spent buying the Bitcoin.
Exactly. Let's see.
So they're actually
Omar.
in better shape than they even look on paper right this second.
Exactly. Omar brought us a story this week.
Yes. So there was some spy shots, some drone footage. They're always taking drone footage and looking at, Tesla's different factories and stuff. And apparently, Ram pickup truck has been spotted. And it looks like they're doing some testing, just based on the rigging that they had on the Ram and the fact that it was riding around their test track and all that stuff. They're doing some. I think they're going to be pitting um, that particular Ram versus the Cybertruck, and the Ram TRX. If you go on the website and spec it out to go to and look at the purchase price of that, I mean, you can you can easily go over 80 grand for one of those. So the tri-motor Cybertruck is 70. So you know, I mean, they're comparing a formidable vehicle there to the Cybertruck, which is great because then that means that they're they want to obviously outdo whatever it is that vehicle can do. So
You
that's
can
exciting to look
you can
forward to.
definitely tell that that's set up for benchmarking. It's got wheel speed sensors, 4-wheel drive wheel speed sensors. It's got the wiring all done. It's got the test equipment in the back. I don't know what this is here. Wow. But I mean, that's a good thing to benchmark the competition. I mean, you're selling what you're calling a truck, so why not get the best selling truck over to your factory and test it out against what you've already made?
Yeah,
Not
test the
wrong.
best truck you can find, get the best trucks that you can get your hands on, and pit it against yours and see how it does, and
Yeah.
then make yours better.
Yeah, David has a point, but I also want to point out that Tesla vehicles are electric, and Tesla has a lot of covered roof space. So these things could be running around inside the factory, inside the design center, amongst people who both already have signed NDAs and are sworn to secrecy, as well as people who have a vested interest in making sure nothing gets out early. Because remember, every Tesla employee is available for stock options. So if they do anything to cost themselves their stock options or to cost the company performance in the stock market, uh, I, I think this is part of why we see so many Tesla employees not leaking anything other than Elon emails. And I'm wondering if Elon's the one sending the emails to these places himself.
I'm surprised, honestly, when the Cybertruck reveal happened, I was surprised that that design didn't leak out at all whatsoever from Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Well, it did
that, they kept that.
from the Model Y party. They had the smoked out. They had the light bar and
Yeah, but that was on purpose. I
yeah,
mean,
it was on
there was
purpose.
no that. I mean, to have something that dramatically different, to not have any remnants of it leak out ahead of time was just, I was surprised.
Yeah, I like that about them though. I mean, because we didn't know much about the Model Y. The Model 3, we ordered it without even knowing what it looked like.
Yeah, sight unseen.
Yeah. I mean, we had some ideas, but we knew it was going to be a small Model S, and it actually was, except it had a trunk. We expected a hatchback, and it had a trunk.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
play it real close.
with the Model Y, they didn't really, leak anything out really about the Model Y, but everybody knew, everybody, just assumed and rightfully, correctly assumed and knew that it was just going to be like a bigger Model 3.
I mean, they told us. They said, "Hey, 78% parts similarity, this many percent bigger," and so everybody just took a Model 3 and stretched it. And for the most
Yeah,
part, they were right. They got the nose portions wrong, but
yeah, but I mean, they were pretty close.
yeah. So the next one up is Omar and I have a story for you about an exploit. So what this one is a zero-click exploit where you just have to have your car on Wi-Fi, or you don't have a choice really with your car being on Wi-Fi, because if it sees a Tesla um, Wi-Fi access point when it's at service, for instance, it'll turn on and can connect to it.
Right. So
Uh,
if somebody is running that Tesla SSID, the car will automatically turn on the Wi-Fi and connect to it.
yep. And so the hard part about that is that it's already been patched. That's the only reason we were even here about it today, because the folks that found this, they gave their notice properly. They've already got their bug bounty for it too, so they've been paid for this. The Which I like that Tesla does bug bounties rather than waiting until you get hacked, and uh, the bug bounties is the way to go. And
Absolutely. It's more than worth the price for them.
yeah, and so now that it's fixed, these guys, they want to share what they learned. They're security researchers, so that allows them to make sure that you don't make the same mistake in your product, as well as to show, who doesn't want to show and tell, hey, I did this cool thing, but you want to do it responsibly. You want to do it after nobody's in danger from this thing, because mostly what they wanted to wait for was because it required nothing on the part of the user. It was very warmable. Literally, they could infect one car and then park it in a parking lot with a bunch of other Teslas, and then those cars would be infected, and they would infect other cars, and it would cascade like that. So they made
And
the right
remember,
call.
Teslas do gather, you know, together at
Yes,
superchargers. So all you
superchargers
got to do is
and
go
Club
go to
Met,
hang out at a supercharger,
yeah,
and
supercharger, Club Meet, service center, driving down the road, supermarket.
yeah.
Yeah, so they made the right call, and this is very interesting to read about. So if you're into the technical details, this is the one that Omar found, kudaman.io, and I'll try to remember to put a link in the show notes. Our friends at High Voltage and Performance say facts. Part of it is, two co-workers and stuff. They say nothing because NDA. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you look at what I spent on my little bit of Tesla shares, I mean, I got them at $37 a share. I was a kid. I had no extra money. Well, not none. Actually, I had some obviously to do that, but when you look at what it is today, it's like, imagine if I was like at at my adult job at the time, and that was turning in stock options. I would be one of the Tesla millionaires at that point, and I wouldn't want to risk my Tesla millions waiting on them to vest doing something stupid for 15 minutes of fame. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, it's. I mean, is it worth losing your job? First of all,
worth losing your
then is it
job, worth
worth
losing all that
losing
money.
all that money, all the stock options and anything? I mean, is it worth? Is it worth it? No.
And then you get branded as unreliable when they say, "Hey, would you hire this person?" No. Oh
Yeah,
snap!
and then good luck, good luck working for another big big time company. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yes. Um, we talked about the PWS speakers, and so now let's talk about. Sorry, so hard to do this on my own. The This one is the protester in China at the auto show. She came in and was standing on the roofs of the cars and was saying a bunch of stuff. We found out some more about the incident now. Uh, this says essentially that no brakes, bad brakes, or whatever. So not only did we find out that this person uh, got in with the credentials of a Xpeng supplier, their glass maker. She was in the car, and the whole story about how Miss Zhang behaved with Tesla. Let me see if I can't read you a snippet of this. It's a long story. Um, she said the brakes weren't
So
working on the
basically,
car.
the accusation is that the brakes didn't work. That was the accusation she was trying to make.
Right, and as we
Um,
said last week, they proved it. The Tesla brought out the receipts. They're like, nah, bro. Here, you did the brakes worked here, and they
Oh,
worked
because
here.
Tesla has all the data from the cars, so they're like, okay, at this point you started to apply the brake, but you only applied it this much. It was this percentage amount, and the car slowed from this speed to this speed. By the way, it come to find out her original speed before the brakes were even applied was more than double the speed limit on that road. So I mean, there was all sorts of issues with her story to where
Yes,
it appeared that she purposely did this, she purposely
like she's looking for like
just
payday
applied the
or
brakes slightly since she
yeah,
knew that they would have data to say, oh, the brakes were applied. So she applied the brakes just slightly, which was not enough to avoid, the collision that subsequently occurred. And what's
Well,
funny
she
is,
was she was the passenger.
okay,
Yeah,
but whomever was driving did
that was her
this.
brother or her
It just
father, something like that.
it just
Yeah,
seemed it seemed like it
it
seemed
seems like a
really
setup.
really fishy, really
Yeah,
fishy, like a complete setup. Um,
yeah.
and then
It's
the
like she
emergency
could.
braking had actually kicked in and
Yes.
applied the brakes all the way, which slowed the car down even more
Hmm.
before impact. So
Yeah. I mean, that emergency braking is really cool stuff. I'm glad that it's there. I mean, it's
I
like
mean,
she just kept.
and the emergency braking it kicks in at the last second. So it's not like, oh, it's gonna avoid every accident from happening, but it avoids the amount of damage and injury that's going to occur from the impact. So that's the main focus on it is to, I mean, it avoid it if it can, but at least it will lessen the impact.
Yeah. It's like, oh, my owner is paying zero attention. At least let me cut this down from a 70-mile-an-hour crash to a 40-mile-an-hour crash.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
still going to be bad, but it won't be as bad. So it's like she couldn't wrap her head around her brother or her father possibly being a bad driver, despite the fact that while they were driving in this car, they were driving in well excess of the speed limit, as shown by the logs. So Tesla, they actually do
See,
have PR in China, and their PR
I'm
is
more suspicious
gangster.
of this. I don't think it was just being a bad driver.
You think he killed
I
himself on
think,
purpose?
well, I don't think he killed himself. On purpose. I don't think that. But I think it could be possible that it was more of a setup, that he was trying to cause
Oh, they were having a
an
stage an
accident,
accident. Okay,
to
okay.
stage an accident to say, these Tesla cars are unsafe and this, that, and the other, and that he may have been paid by, one of their
Whoever's paying
competitors like
her.
Neo or Xpeng or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's possible.
I can see that. I can see that. I mean, because if you think it's super easy and then you do it wrong, and then the car, you know, tries to help you out, and you're fighting it, and you take yourself out, I can see that. I mean, but like her whole story, she'd have meetings with Tesla, and then she'd back out at the last minute from agreements, and it's like their PR firm over there is quite nice, better than what we have here, which is nothing. They went through and they explained, not only here's the receipts from the logs, but hey, here's how all of our meetings with this person went. I'm not saying necessarily dragging her through the mud, but defending themselves. There's nothing wrong with defending yourselves if it's the truth. And it's not like they're editorializing it. They're not saying, "Hey, this person is crazy" or whatever. They're literally saying, "Here's how it went down. Make up your own mind." And she seems obsessed. She seems very obsessed. And
But the logs did show and prove that the brakes didn't fail. It's like,
yeah,
it was applied this much and then it slowed down this much. Then it was
I mean,
applied this much and it slowed down this much. So it's like,
she hired models to like auto show models to stand next to the car and say the brakes didn't work. I mean, there's something up with this individual.
I mean, if she's not, if it's not a smear campaign or anything like that,
Then
then
she needs help.
she needs help. Yeah, she just can't cope with what happened, I guess.
Yeah, that's why I agree, David. It seems more likely that this is somebody who needs some serious assistance. But if not, then they're doing a really bad job of running a smear campaign. One other person brought up a possibility that this is just the way that some cultures negotiate. You're not done negotiating until you've got everything you want, because these Westerners are not as shrewd at negotiating. They care more about being seen to be shameful, blah blah blah. So they'll just keep hitting and hitting until they get what they want. That doesn't seem to be the case with this woman, because, as you said, it seems that she needs help based on everything that's going on, rather than because if she's trying to negotiate, then she's doing a really bad job of getting any way for them to want to move to her side of the story. Because now they can just be like, "Hey, we had a stalker. We don't know what happened. Crashes happen."
I mean, it is a strong possibility that she could just need help and just, have a tough time coping with what occurred. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. But I agree. I think that what Tesla's done here, I wish that Tesla had
I think
something
Tesla
like
has a right to
this.
defend themselves. I mean,
Yeah,
they have to,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I wish they had something like this here, where they don't have to spin it. They literally just use the data, make up your own mind, and I like the way they did that, versus what we see with some others. They'll deny the recall. They'll deny. Well, Tesla didn't deny the recall on the MCU, but on a safety issue, like a real safety issue, like airbags or fires or whatever, rollovers, and they'll just like, oh well, it hasn't crossed this amount of millions of dollars yet. We're gonna keep fighting it. Oh, it's over this. We'll run the recall. We'll pay off the families, that sort of thing. So, I mean, that's where we are with this. Oh, I left my screen on. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, cool. So that is. So we've talked about in the past hydrogen, green hydrogen. Uh, I've always said that it's not energy efficient. It doesn't make any sense. And well, if you thought that was
And I
bad,
agree.
right? If
Fully
you thought
agree.
that
It makes no
if you thought
sense.
that was bad, let's do fully synthetic fuels. They also physically practically work, but they require even more energy than hydrogen to get the synthetic gasoline, synthetic diesel. And this paper here in Clean Technica, they go on for a while about all of the different efficiencies and what goes into actually making the e-fuels, because Porsche and another automaker in Germany right now are really pushing the e-fuels because they don't want to end the combustion system, but they figure that if the car is effectively zero emissions, because if you're taking all this carbon out of the air and then processing it, and then processing enough also to take out the carbon from the power conversion, and then running it through the car, and then it gets put back into the air, you've got net zero, yes. But
I mean, in theory,
yeah,
but
in theory. but, but then when you look at how much worse it is than just shoving that energy in a battery, and then if you make the power from a clean fuel source like wind, solar, hydro, a horse on a treadmill, I mean, whatever. Tidal. I mean, there's just so many ways you can get good, clean electricity without putting extra carbon in the air. It's just so this one is called "Why E-Fuels Make No Sense, Economic or Environmental." That's over in Clean Technica. Semi-hydrogen going up the hill.
a semi
didn't
running
see.
on hydrogen coming up a hill.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that. But
Yeah, exactly. All desperate attempts to have fuels you can't make rooftop solar, so centralized monopoly. That's exactly what they're going for, and that's what I felt with the natural gas cars and the hydrogen cars, and now this e-fuels is all they're trying to do is get you to have to go to a place to go fill up. But that cat's out of the bag. Uh, I am never
right.
going to a place to fill up for my day-to-day driving again, as long as I can keep EVs running, even if they
Why would I?
do
Why would I do that? I got my own fuel source right here in my house at home.
on your roof. Exactly. And the only thing we need to go to a place for right now is the superchargers on road trips. I mean, but that's also true of our friend with the Ford Mach-E. It's true of all of our friends with the Nissan Leafs and any other plug-in car. You don't have to go to the place to go do the thing, and it's just not. I made a video called the 3-minute fill up, and basically in that video, our friend Navery and I, we went to a gas station and we tried to fill up a car in under 3 minutes, and we got to 7 minutes. And I mean, technically, you could do 3 if you can zap yourself straight into to the gas station and zap yourself back out into traffic. But I mean, you got to pull over, you got to stop. And in my personal case, I've never had a gas station that was right on my route while I had a gas car. I always had to go a couple miles out of my way to go. Not severely. We're talking like a minute or two of driving, but a couple times a week, one time a week, a minute or two, or a mile or two out of my way of driving.
But the majority of if you look at the perspective of the majority time that you're gonna refill your car, not at home if you have an EV, would be on a road trip.
Exactly.
Well, if you're in a gas car on a road trip, they do have rest stops on highways that are usually pretty convenient that you just pull in and pull out, right? So you don't have to drive out of your way to get to it. So in the sense,
But
that
they've
part
got the chargers on them
is
now too.
they do, but it saves you from having to go off the road and save in a couple minutes. So
Right.
so
But there's
now
no
if you
turnpike
look at
between my office and my house most of the time.
so yeah, but if you look at it on a day-to-day basis, though, the EV is going to save you time because
Yeah.
you're waking up in the morning with a full battery and you're just driving and doing your thing and coming back home, you plug back in and you don't even have to think about it. You have to worry about it, and you're not taking the time out of your day to stop somewhere to go pay for this fuel that you have to put into your vehicle and take the time to do that. You don't have to factor that into your routine. It's gone.
Right.
Now, but on a road trip situation, you are going to have a slight advantage with the gas vehicle, but it's
Minutes.
not that big of an advantage as far as the fuel up time. It's
Yeah.
really not. And what I learned yesterday with my experience with the Model Y that I test drove. I actually took it to a supercharger and plugged it in and compared the speed of that Model Y compared to my Model S. Is that now? I mean, those things are charging like twice as fast as my Model S does,
Mhm.
and I mean that thing's
1,000 miles an hour.
fast.
Yeah.
it is ridiculously fast. It's to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, there's really zero advantage at this point. Because if I'm on a road trip, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna go to the bathroom or whatever, and just in that bathroom break alone, the amount of juice that I put back in the car is like it's enough for me to go on my way. It's, so there's just
Yep.
like no advantage.
Yep. I did the math for road trips, and I found out there was like less than 15 minutes or so of difference for most of the trips. And I even stretched it out and did a Disney trip, and then it ended up being a couple minutes, like 45 minutes or so. But once you factor in traffic and everything,
But
it's like,
it's okay. So is a 45-minute difference worth the amount of money difference that you're going to spend in fuel? Because remember, the fuel costs on
right.
your
So,
on
the
the
gas car costs
superchargers
more.
is
Just on the
way
trip, it
less.
costs more. Yeah, but you've got your maintenance, and so even factoring all that in, I said, my wife and I, we do take road trips regularly, like you and your wife do, and it came out to be that even with that savings, once you added back in all your commuting time, the EV still was less time spent fueling on top of the less money spent maintenance, less money on the fuel, especially if you have solar. And it just I couldn't make it add up. And I showed my numbers so that way if somebody had like there's one guy who responded that that he commutes from LA to Vegas every day. Okay, that case maybe, but there aren't. I mean, you're the exception to the rule at that point if you're making multi-state, multi-hundred-mile journeys daily. And eventually you'll
Yeah,
make one that
yeah.
works for you too.
But that's not your average commuter. Um, it's what the funny thing is, like you said, with maintenance, I want my car to spend the least amount of time in the shop as possible.
I like that the shop
I
comes to me.
I right. Um, so I know a guy who at the same time when I bought my Model S, he bought a Maserati,
Hmm.
and the vehicles at the time because he bought his Maserati used, they were comparable in price to each other. Um, but his car spent so much time in the shop. He got so frustrated with that car, he got rid of it. I still have that Model S right now, and this was this was like 6 years ago, whatever it
Yeah,
was when I got it. Because I'm the second owner on my Model S. I bought it used, but it was
nothing wrong with
just
that. Reduce, reuse,
like I said.
recycle.
I let the first guy take the initial depreciation on the on the new car,
Yeah, my
but
Model S was used too. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it was only at the time when I bought it. It was a 2 year old car when I got it, so yeah, it's not bad.
Not bad at all. So we've got a firm that's giving away free taxi cab rides in Model S's and X's and threes to healthcare workers for the next month in support of COVID relief. And I think that's pretty cool. That's coming from Current Taxi, and of course, this story is coming from our friends at Drive Tesla Canada,
That's
and
awesome.
that's super awesome. It gets their name out there. It's good for the workers. And also, with a respiratory disease, why not help fight, uh, you know, pollution, air pollution. So this is good all around for everybody. I thought that was
Yeah,
pretty cool.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. That was about all I had to say on that one. So we've answered a couple of audience questions throughout the show, but if you guys have anything, pop them in real quick, and I'm going to go to the pre-submitted questions. Some of them are off topic because I didn't filter them ahead of time. So somebody says Apple M1 performance test. So this is not exactly that kind of tech channel, but I did order a iPad Pro M1, and my wife was making fun of me because uh, I ordered it yesterday when they put it on sale, and the the cover arrived, but the iPad won't arrive for at least another month, and or at least half a month. And then I got an email from Amazon saying that I should expect the Magic Keyboard tomorrow. So There'll be 2 covers
You know what's
for the
funny?
device that's not here yet.
So I've done that before. Ordered accessories for stuff that I didn't even have in yet, and the accessories get there first before
Yes.
the actual item gets there. Like that. That happened to me with my Tesla. Before I even got that in, I had a Chademo adapter.
Yeah.
um, it's happened with multiple phones. I've had like the case for the phone before I had the phone.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. I could do a benchmark on the cover. It'd be fun. Oh. So I'll let you know what I hope to do with that is, as I mentioned, we do a lot of road trips, and I would like to at least pre-cut our videos, get them out a little faster. What I hope to see is that they bring either Adobe Premiere, which is what I use, or Final Cut Pro to the iPad. But on the advice of a YouTuber friend, I went ahead and I bought LumaFusion for myself and my wife on both of our iPads. Um, Hers is unable to handle the load because she's got an iPad 5. So she'll get my old iPad Pro when the new iPad Pro comes in, and then we'll both be able to hopefully do some edits on the road. Because this guy, he does all of his edits on the iPad. He's never used a computer, and his channel looks great, and it looks exactly like something I would do on Adobe Pro. So I'm excited.
I mean, it's amazing the capabilities that you can do now. You know, the improvements over the years. If you just look just a few years ago compared to now, it's it's just amazing.
Yeah, I did I wanted the 16 gig of RAM, so I just got the smallest one I could get for that. So I got the 1 terabyte cellular, and with the 12.9 inch, just because everybody kept bragging about the screen, and I was like, well, I don't have an Apple. I use PCs, so let's get that display and see if it's all they say it is or not. And then the cellular was just a matter of we already have unlimited cell phone plans, and so I figured add that to that, and then I could just upload straight from straight from the iPad without having to go find Starbucks or something and then wait there for hours for the 4K videos to upload. 16 gig of RAM, the M1 8 core, 8 GPU core. Yeah. The MG EV. Yes, I did see about that. Let me see if I can get a picture of that for everybody else. Um, Paste. Go. Da, 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 da. Okay, it's taking me to their website. Let's see. On the picture. But yeah, MG's got an EV now, and that was really cool to me. From a old motorcycle driver or motorcycle manufacturer to now they've got some EVs, and that was pretty cool.
And they're building SUVs at that, so that's nice.
Yeah.
That's a market segment that there's a lot of demand for.
Yes. So another person submitted ahead of time. They submitted GM Super Cruise versus Tesla Autopilot, and with that, I thought it was kind of timely because when you look at our other article earlier today about the Ford ProPilot 360. And so our friends at Consumer Reports, they need to get with it and do that which is appropriate. Get on Ford. Get on Ford, because otherwise they're a bunch of hypocrites. Isn't that right, Omar? All right, so somebody said Apple next big product. For me, it was the iPad. For other folks, it was the new iPad, the new iMacs, and the Apple TV and all that, but not exactly this channel. Super Cruise versus Tesla Autopilot. It's kind of the same thing as Super Cruise versus Tesla Autopilot. Um, so yeah, how to buy a Tesla Model Y? That's easy. So Omar's got a referral code. I can give you my referral code as well, but you know, he would get more benefit from it. He would get more
So it's
benefit from it.
yeah, so it's really easy. You're just going right on online. Matter of fact, I'll give you the code, Casey, and you can post it in the chat.
All right. 1 second here. I'm doing some
As soon as I look it up.
administration.
Let me go to my app, pull up my code.
Yeah, Robert Williams has a point that you can't get GPUs still. So this actually stands a chance for anybody who's looking for a performant PC. I've seen specs of the Apple M1 chip running Windows beating a lot of these ultrabook laptops. It doesn't quite compare to, say, the Mac Pro, or like my desktop is really powerful, but my desktop is also a desk, so I can't exactly shove that in the car and go on the road because it's a standing desk. um, but we could do. Clayton Harris says he has a code too. Yeah, so basically, what you want to do is you want to find your friend that has a Tesla, get their referral code, and because you get 1,000 free supercharger miles, and so do they. So here's Omar's. Nine three oh three, and then I'll put that on the stream. Yeah, so if you go there, he'll get 1,000 free supercharger miles on his new Model Y, and you'll get on your vehicle as well. I don't plan to get a new one yet, so I won't make immediate benefit from it, but I've got one there too if you want to use it. So I would say start with Omar's, start with a friend of yours, and then if you can't find one of theirs, use mine. But you have to do this before you give them money, before you close on your car. Otherwise, you both lose out on the miles, and there's no reason for that. They're a big corporation. We just said how they're able to pay their bills. Get some free miles. It's good for you.
Absolutely.
I saw Chinese Electric the other day, and man said he paid $5K. Yeah, there have been a couple of really nice Chinese EVs. Uh, I like the Candy because it's highway capable and it passed crash tests here in the U.S. Um, there's one over there that we saw. I think we touched on it at the end of last show, where it was like, was it $3,500, $5,000? It was under 10 at the end of last show.
But the strange thing is, I mean, I'm a little bit skeptical about those vehicles that are such low price. It's like, how are they doing that? And then you look at it, and it's like, okay, some of them, it's because they really skimped on the safety features and stuff. So, and
Yeah,
you got to be really careful and cautious about that. And some of them is because they're subsidized by the Chinese government. So you
right.
know,
Yeah, it's like Eddie said on the last show that he was on, where he said, is BYD going to make any of their passenger cars here? And my response was, did they did they pass a crash test?
yeah, exactly.
Because their
There's
buses
different
are here.
regulations in different places, and in China, just like India, those two places, I know you can pretty much just put out anything.
Mhm. And so then another person put out a Ford Mach E first drive. And so for that, I would say go with Ryan at the Kilowatts, or Kyle from Outer Spec Motoring, or Inside EVs, or any number of places. The Mach E, our friend Sergio has a Ford Mach E, and he absolutely loves it. He still has his Model X, and he's had a lot of fun on Twitter with folks being offended at the fact that he enjoys his Mach E
And
as
he
much as he
likes the
enjoys his
Mach-E.
Tesla.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with liking something else. You
Yeah.
know,
Elon keeps saying the mission is replace all the fossils with EVs, and this
right?
does that.
And they've proven that from the simple fact that 98% of the people buying Teslas were coming from an ICE car, not coming from other EVs. So they're not in competition with other EVs and other EV makers. They're in competition with the traditional cars, or the legacy vehicles, rather, the fossils.
Right. Exactly. Somebody said water leak under car. Hopefully, this is just your air conditioner condensate. Usually, what happens is there's a drain, usually in the passenger footwell, where the AC compressor overflow for the water that happens. That when you condense hot air to cold air, the water falls out of suspension, and it usually goes through this tube and falls under the car. So that's usually no big deal. If it's a clear fluid under your car and you've been running it for a while in the heat, it's springtime going into summertime, that's probably what you're seeing. If it's not that, then you might want to call your service well, if it's a Tesla, call your service center and have them send somebody, or if it's a regular car or another EV, then you want to take it in and get it looked at. But that's usually no issue if it's just water. And if you
Yeah,
happen to see clear water backing up into the car, that usually means that drain has been blocked.
blocked or clogged or something. Yeah, and a lot of times what happens with that is that if it's clogged or blocked, you may not even see it seeping in.
Mm,
And what happens is the wetness and the dampness and stuff ends up getting behind or under your carpet and stuff, and then it creates a
mildews.
smell
Yeah.
and kind of mildews and stuff. And then as soon as you notice that smell, you know that that's what's going on, and that you want to get that serviced as soon as possible to get rid of that
Yeah.
because you know
Standing water is bad.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, if you drive alone, as Omar said, you're not going to find out about it. But if you drive with somebody in the front seat, you'll have it's gonna be a nice dry sunny day, and you're splashing of feet in the footwell, and that's probably what that is. Um, let's see over here. Do the 2021 Model 3s have heat pumps? Yes. So all the 2021 Model 3s have heat pumps. That was one of the changes they made in addition to Chrome Delete and a couple of other cool things like freshening the aero wheel covers and a couple other small items like that. Let's see. Am I gonna get the Roadster 2.0? I hope so. I don't know how at the moment, but if I find a way, I sure will. Get right in line. The problem for me
I'd,
is that the
I'd love
entry,
to, but it's
yeah,
not quite in my budget.
the entry point for the model for the Roadster 2.0 is a minimum of $250,000. It's not impossible, but it would be quite a stretch to get there from here. Maybe this YouTube thing works out, then I'd be glad to. Or if I just happen to come into some money some other way, I'd be glad to get it there and do a couple reviews for you guys. Or maybe somebody puts it in a rental fleet or something, and then I'll rent one for a weekend for you and show it off. Somebody else is asking about Super Cruise versus Tesla. Same deal. Uh, Tesla Autopilot better than you think. Omar can talk about that.
It so I was highly impressed with Autopilot, especially with the changes and upgrades they've made recently. So it's been a long time since I've driven an Autopilot vehicle. It's been maybe 3 years since I've driven with Autopilot, because that's the
Sorry, I'm
last
laughing
time
at
I
Clayton's
had.
response.
That's literally the last time I had a loaner, right? So I had a loaner vehicle and drove with Autopilot. Fine. Yesterday,
Yeah.
I took the Model Y out for a spin, got to test drive that, and wow, what a world of difference. I mean, it is night and day improvement from what it used to be. And it worked beautifully. I mean, and this was an area with very heavy traffic, and it handled everything like a champ. So I'm impressed with it. I I wouldn't fully trust it yet to like not pay attention, because there was actually a couple spots where I did intervene, where the road did some weird stuff and had some weird merges, and like the lanes markings were terrible.
Yeah.
So I did intervene like twice.
Yep.
But so I definitely wouldn't trust it, like I said, to not pay attention to the road at all. But I it was still very impressive.
Yeah. And as you'll see in my upcoming video on the deep dive into 2021.4.15 Tesla software update, there are other items that like it wants to come to complete stop at every yellow light, whether it's on or not. Uh, so just as Tesla
Oh,
says, you must pay
so
attention.
I'm sorry, Casey. I'm sorry
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt you. So the vehicle that I had, it had the beta version,
Yeah.
so it actually went through the yellow.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, oh, it took it, great.
Yeah.
So, and then it stopped at a different yellow. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's timing this based on distance and everything, and it's
Yeah.
figuring this out. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's driving the way I would. This is fantastic. It was phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. I did have one yellow light on this version where it did roll through. And another where I knew that the light was a little longer, and I ran through it. The car gave me the red hands, beep, 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 and And then I just kept, my hands were already on the wheel, and I just kept on going because if at that point if I stopped, then I would get into a crash. So I went through the light, and then
You don't want to stop in the middle.
right. So the car saw I went through, and then it calmed down, and it didn't ever leave autopilot, but it did give me those red hands, and yeah. So ATM plays, I did get I think 5 referrals in the allotted time, so it didn't count, unfortunately. But they are doing monthly drawings for monthly or quarterly. I think it's monthly for Model Y and quarterly for a Roadster. So I mean, if they pull my name out of the hat, I'd love that. Yeah, sometimes autopilot is a little scary, and Clayton suggested I try hooking to to make the money for the Roadster.
Go start an OnlyFans page.
I could do one of those safer work OnlyFans page, like that young lady who does the animals that she sees on her walks through the woods. That was a pretty cool and wholesome one I've heard about. I've never been to OnlyFans, but from what I've heard, that she makes a lot of money doing that.
Okay.
Somebody
I
asked me
guess.
about Model 3 SR Plus. It's a great option, and it's very inexpensive. It's got some decent range on it. If that's what you want, go for it. If that's not what you want, then just go with the long range.
As long as it works for your needs. I mean, everybody's situation is different.
Yes. And
So.
it's not like it's a punishment mobile. It's got all the stuff that the other cars have. It might
Oh
not
no, it's
have
still it's a nice vehicle.
yeah, it might not have the ambulance lights turned on. It might not have the subwoofer turned on or the fog lights. But I mean, it's not going to feel like that's a pain to drive it. It's not like it's got cloth
That
seats and roll up
shouldn't
windows.
that shouldn't be a deal breaker. Yeah, that
Yeah.
should not be a deal breaker.
Basic autopilot this month for Model 3 M3. Any advice for setup would be to your car should already be calibrated for it, just because it's already got the equipment. But if it isn't already calibrated, then what you'll do is you'll go into the settings and you'll turn on auto steer, and then from there you'll say you need to drive 50 miles to calibrate. But because your car is already using those same sensors for safety, I think that it's probably already going to be set up, and you'll just be able to just turn it on after the next update. If you go to enhanced autopilot, because yours is in that area where you can actually probably still get enhanced autopilot, then you'll turn on, I recommend navigate on autopilot, where the car will change lanes to pass slow traffic, and it will also change freeways for you. So, say you're on 95, you need to get on 495, or you're on the I-10, you need to get on the local road. It'll just take that, and it does a good job of it. Also, never let it go on its own. Just pay attention to everything it's doing. But the beauty of it is that you can, hand on the wheel, you can lean back, and you can have situational awareness of everything that's going on around you, rather than having to have the death grip and then looking for people. Because in our area, the people that are just really bad drivers, they're out to kill you, and
Yeah, they
now
are.
you can see them better. Yeah, it's like having a good wingman, because you see stuff that the car doesn't know what to do with yet. And because the car has 8 eyes and it's always watching, it sees the crazy stuff that's going on, and it knows to alert you. So it's like, ooh. So whenever I'm driving a car that doesn't have any form of autopilot, I feel a little bit naked and exposed, and it's uncomfortable now, because I'm used to having that that co-pilot there with
That
me.
extra set of eyes, yeah.
Exactly.
I can see how you could get used to that, and how that would be it's such a different experience than what my normal experience every day right now.
Yeah, DC to Atlanta, Orlando back to DC. Yeah, I would definitely at least want
Oh,
basic
that's a good
autopilot for
trip.
that. Yeah,
That's a good trip. I've been to all those places.
yeah.
You won't have any problem finding any charging in your route, in any of those routes going to and from
Yeah,
any of those places.
they'll be good for it. With the basic autopilot, my recommendation would be to set your follow distance to a 4 if you're concerned about road trips, or not road trips, rock chips. My personal comfort level is a 3, and I used to run that until until like my Model S hood started to look like I had the titanium metallic. It started to look like it had sparkles on it, because all the road chips were getting to it. So I backed up to a 4, and that's the best balance for me of people seeing the space and trying to squeeze into it, and me getting, like I said, road debris kicked up at me. and a couple times it's helped give me an extra beat for something that falls off a truck. Not usually like a professional truck, but I'm talking like a pickup truck or a contractor truck, or worse, something that gets kicked up from underneath somebody's family minivan because they're also taller and you can't see through them. So that 4 following distance is my recommendation. Some folks are very comfortable with a 7. For me, although I'm fine with 7, the problem is too many people try to squeeze in on me at that point.
Yeah, but the hood of my Model S looks like it has freckles. I mean, it just listen. I got 127K on it, so I got a lot of road miles and a lot of it's highway miles. So
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
part of doing
So
that many road trips.
it sounds like they took out the option for enhanced autopilot even for people who qualified. So that's what we keep saying is if you see something that you want from Tesla, if it's a whole car, if it's an option, if it's an accessory, get it while they're offering it because either they'll sell out or they'll change it or they'll change the price on you. And it may be for the better, but most of the time it's in a way that's just going to make you mad that you didn't pull the trigger. Not saying that was your case with the enhanced autopilot, because like you said, it's your first time that you actually needed it. But if it was somebody who was on the edge between any autopilot and enhanced autopilot, that they might have been upset to go in there and find out that now their choice is between basic and full self-drive at $10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robert Williams said, "You see more EV bikes? Yeah, I love e-bikes. They're a great idea. Why do many states in the U.S. have right turn on red if you turn right? Many states in the U.S. have the right to turn on red if you turn right. It seems quite a few accidents happen. Yeah, that's
So the right turn on red. I mean, a lot of people don't follow the actual laws. The law is that you have to stop to a full complete stop first
yes,
before you turn right, and at that point, it's pretty much just like a stop sign, right?
yeah,
It's the same as you having a stop sign and the other lane does not have the stop sign.
yeah.
So obviously, the traffic that has the green light has the right of way, and if you do it the right way, you shouldn't have a problem.
Yep. So you have to come to a complete stop, look both ways, and then once you see an opening that you can take, you got to look back to the other side. Look to your right to make sure that there's no bicyclists, pedestrians, or other random cars that somehow just pop in there. Usually, it's the bicyclists and the pedestrians that catch you by the most surprise. So make sure that you don't have a situation. Also, make sure that if you were going to try and follow closely behind another car, make sure that they are gone first, because that's another way that we have a lot of right turn on red collisions is. The other car didn't feel safe and didn't go, or they're slower, and then you ram them.
Well, that's why it's full complete stop first. So if
Yes,
there's another car in front of you and you're behind the other car and you're looking for when the opportunity to go is for the other car and you're thinking that they're going to take it and maybe they were more cautious than you are and they didn't take it and you go run into the back of them, you're 100% at fault because you weren't supposed to go yet anyway.
exactly. And you need to make sure they've actually left, because a lot of times, like, they'll see something happen. Like maybe a car is speeding in another lane, you can't see it because they're back behind some
Or
trees
maybe a
or a building or
pedestrian
something.
walked in front of them towards on the right side of it, right? And or something. And
Yeah, and now you're running them into the pedestrian because you thought that they had actually left because they had a foot of rollout. You need to make sure they're gone. We also have left turns on red on one-way streets, from a one-way street to a one-way street. Same situation
in certain places, in certain
in
states,
certain
yes.
places. Yeah. But then some states, was it New York? You can't make a right turn on red anywhere, right?
Correct. Some states like New York, no
Yeah.
right turn on red.
And then other places in states where it's allowed, they'll have signage because the traffic engineer has determined that it's not safe at any point to make a right turn on red. So you'll see a big no. Oh, it's not usually big. It's usually
You'll
totally
see a no
nondescript.
turn on red sign.
Yeah.
You-
If they care about your safety, you'll say no right turn red. It'll be big and visible. If they're just doing it for tickets, it'll be a little tiny post-it note.
yeah, exactly.
But in either case, the traffic engineer has determined that it's not safe to make a right turn red. The other thing to watch out for is make sure that foliage hasn't grown in since they built the intersection. A lot of times you'll find bushes and stuff where it's technically legal, but there's no safe way to do it. Yes, exactly. It's bad drivers. There are a couple of crash compilation channels I follow, like
Exactly.
RBD Driving School and Wham Bam Tesla
Wham bam,
Cam.
Tesla cam. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
So
that's
yeah,
what I
there's a
do.
lot of bad drivers out there, which is why I'm really excited about autonomous driving, and it's
Yes.
great that Tesla's not the only one doing it. There's
Yeah,
Super Cruise. There's other. Everybody's getting into the game, which is good.
yeah, and it's not just Tesla that does free safety features. Some of them, well, they might not be the only ones to do it. They might be the only ones to do it for free, but not everybody has. Tesla's not the only ones with safety features. So a lot of the manufacturers putting in stuff where if you try to turn into somebody in your blind spot, it'll fight you or at least beep at you, and I am really appreciative of that. And that's standard on any Tesla. If you've got any equipment that it can use, it's going to warn you, hey, something's going on. It'll try and help you. The other day, I steered wide for a manhole cover, and in the car thought I was leaving the lane. It nudged me back, and I fought it again, and then it beeped at me, but it let me do what I was doing. Um, but had there been a car there, it would have fought me harder, which is good to know. But you can't count on it 100%. You're still the driver. It's just like I said. It's somebody here, a second pair of eyes helping you out. Yeah, yeah. We are 50 small countries.
Yeah, every state has their own set of laws. It's kind of weird. So there are some national laws that are federal laws all over, but every state has their own state laws, which are different in every state. So
Yeah, Clayton, go ahead and get your basic autopilot because, like you said, if it comes back this summer, they're going to take the difference between the two products, so you'll be able to just upgrade the one you have versus trying to get the full enhanced autopilot. So what they'll do is the last time it was $3,500, so it'll probably be more now because it'll have more capabilities than it had last time. But basically, just kind of keep $4,000 of spending power saved up somewhere and be ready to just drop it on them if they bring back enhanced autopilot. Because if you like the basic autopilot on your trip this summer, you are going to love the enhanced autopilot. And then at that point, it'll also be cheaper to upgrade from enhanced to full self-driving whenever they add enough features for you to be comfortable using that. And then you get that computer upgrade if you don't already have the computer upgrade. Thanks, David.
thanks, David. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely would like some more consistency with the traffic laws. All right, so somebody asked us about the Model 3 Jetta USB. I don't have any personal experience with it, but a couple of my friends do have Model 3s and the Jetta Hub and the Jetta other accessories, and they love them. Whenever they make something for Model X, I'll let you know, or hopefully they start making them for the new car, and then at some point I'll have a new car and I can let you know. But it looks quality. With them, though, I do hear stuff about wait times. They have exceptional wait times. I'm not sure if that's just for their situation with COVID or if that's just how they are in general. But we're talking, you could expect a quarter of wait time. So pretend that they're Tesla themselves when it comes to both customer service and time to fulfill your order. Oh, 2-1. Yeah. Ugh. We have a few bridges like that here, but thankfully they're super low traffic. But oof.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, the EU wants to emulate the US. Some stocks apply in all countries, and others have their own laws. Yeah, exactly. I've seen that. The UK is not that they're really part of it anymore, but they just enabled autonomous driving up to 37 miles an hour, which is what 60, 70 kph. And so I mean, yeah, it's just like the Honda that we talked about a while ago. There's a Honda that you can read or watch a movie on the screen while it's in traffic, and then once it leaves traffic, you've got 10 seconds to take over. It's the same 10 seconds verbiage. So I'm wondering if that Honda is going to make it to the UK roads, but it just seems weird. If you're going to go autonomous, go all the way. And then they still have these weird restrictions on autopilot because they're afraid of technology, or at least the regulators are.
Well, regulators are usually slow to do anything. I mean, in Europe, they allow the cameras for the side view mirrors.
Yeah, I like that part.
In the US, it's still not allowed yet. So
Yeah, we're afraid of cameras and headlights, and you guys are afraid of actual automation. So somebody asked about they asked about magnetic sunshade's car. So on the Model X and the Model 3, the new Model 3s, The sunshades are magnetic. On the Model X, they do a magnetic clip into the closed position, which is straight up and down, as well as to the fully open position, straight across the driver. They'll magnetically clip into there, and they've got a resistive push through that whole situation. And then the flaps that cover the mirror and the light are also magnetic. On the Model 3, you've got the same magnetic flap on the mirror, but the magnet actually holds the rather than those clips that break when you open the and close the sun visor to go to the window and back. They've got now a magnetic clip instead of Clayton's car probably has the clip, depending on what month it was made. But just like every manufacturer, those clips sometimes break when you go to stow the visor back, especially if the car gets hot or cold a lot and it cycles. That plastic just isn't made to handle that too well. So they've got a magnet to hold it in place now. And then the Model S, even Omar's, yours has mirrors in the visor, right?
Mine has mirrors, yes, but no lights.
Okay, right. I didn't have lights in my Model S either, but the new Model S does. But his mirror should be covered by a magnetic flap, right? Or is it just open?
It just opens, I think.
Okay. Yeah,
It
mine
seems
was a
like it
magnetic
snaps
flap.
in place. Seems like it snaps in place when you close it, though. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really looked at it much because I don't use it a
I don't
lot.
do my makeup. Oh, my wife loves ours though. She does use the vanity mirror all the time. Somebody asked about top 5 electric chainsaws. I know of one, the Ego. I love my Ego products, and this is not an ad, but I would recommend the Ego chainsaw.
I would
As
love
far as
to have some perspective on a different brand, just to have a different perspective. But unfortunately, I use the same thing. I use a bunch of Ego products, and I just love the fact that the batteries are universal throughout all of their tools.
yeah,
So I have all the different a bunch of different Ego tools, and they all use the same batteries.
exactly. This happened to
But
Deb
they work
earlier.
very, very well. I can tell you that they're really good products. So they're solid.
Yeah. Oh man, so he was the guy in front, and then they hit him in the back. That's got to be terrible. I mean, especially if he was stopped for a reason, and now all of a sudden he's moving. He's got to like push the brake harder. It's like, oh, what's going on? My world is rocked. Yeah, I've been hit in the rear. I don't care for getting hit in the rear again.
Yeah, that's not a good. That's never a good experience. It's terrible.
Yeah, Tesla Model X filter. I assume you're talking about my what do you call it? The bioweapons defense mode filter. Let me go to my Instagram real quick. Buzz
It's basically a HEPA filter.
filter is a really good filter. My let me show on screen. My post this morning on my Instagram was oh wow, sorry.
That's different.
Was this was posted years ago on the Tesla blog. They put a Model X in a bubble, and then they filled the bubble up to the point where it was not safe. OSHA required the people to actually be in a bunny suit with supplemental air because it was the particles and such inside were not safe. And then within 2 minutes, the car had cleaned out all of its own air. And then after about 4.5 minutes, it started to clean out the air in the bubble. And when they finished the test 12 minutes later, the bubble was almost at the safe level. That was pretty
So
cool to me.
that is cool. It not
Yeah.
only cleaned the air inside the vehicle, but it was cleaning the outside air. So
Yeah.
so it's not only a zero emissions vehicle, it's actually helping to clean the air up as it goes.
Yeah. So that was something I enjoyed, and I hope that's what you're asking about with the filter. I have another picture on the YouTube community tab where I show you what's underneath the front tub, and you can see the filter in all of its glory there. It's huge. It's bigger than the one in this townhouse here, and bigger than the one in my actual house too. So long ride after lockdown. Yes, my wife and I are going on to several long trips, and stay tuned here to catch them. I've got a couple of scenic drive videos coming up after I get during while. Basically for this test, I did a couple of really long drives in the country, and they were beautiful. So I'm gonna clip them out and turn them in their own videos. They'll be here soon.
And I'll be doing some road trips this year as well. So
there you go.
stay tuned.
Display problem and Model 3. Have to be a little more clear about that. If you have any problems on your Model 3 with the display, best thing to do is take a picture of it with your phone or other device. That way you can talk about it to Tesla Service, and then hold down both scroll wheels, which will restart the MCU, which will force it to clear the screen. And the only reason I say take a picture in advance, assuming it's safe to do so, if you're driving, you don't want to be touching your phone. The reason I say take a picture is it makes it easier to both get a timestamp and show them what was going on. Because a lot of times they'll ask you, well, when did it happen? And then if you've got it down to the second, that would be great. And so you can tell them, hey, down to the second, it was this. And then the restart is just so you can get it back to normal and continue using it. Because if it's a one-off deal and it doesn't happen again, then why bother anybody with it?
And I
If
know
it
for
happens a lot,
just from experience, from computer experience with troubleshooting, it's always best if you can have an exact picture of what exactly was the error, what exactly happened, or what it was doing, you know, when it froze or whatever the problem was. So
yeah,
whenever you have a problem, like Casey said, like taking a picture is super helpful for them.
yeah.
But if you can't, if it's
Uh,
not practical, then don't, because you got to be
exactly.
safe.
Safety first. Robert Williams, yes, the Works brand is really good. I've had a chance to use some of their stuff, and I enjoyed it. I just ended up switching to one brand so I could move the batteries between tools, and that was the main thing. Greenworks did all right, and Cobalt also did all right. But
I
yeah,
heard
so
DreamWorks was pretty good too.
mhm. Get the higher voltage Greenworks. Don't get the 20 volt. I had a bad time with that. Um, the Mustang Mach-E first drive. That's similar to the other one that you guys talked about. Model X diagnostic tool. That could be any number of things. I've got a CAN bus adapter reader, which lets me read the messages the car is sending across itself, so I can see stuff about the battery. Let me see if I can't dial into it now. There's also they talked about last we talked about last week the event data recorder kit. So if you get into an incident, you can go ahead and recover that yourself without having to involve anybody else. Okay, so this does work. I've got a app called Scan My Tesla, and right now my car has got 0 kilowatts going on with the front motor, but uh, it is using the power in the battery. That's what that orange one is. I don't know if it's charging or discharging, or if it's running the air conditioner. You can see the battery coolant, stuff like that. If I knew I was going to do this, I would have put it on and just shared it on the stream. A whole bunch of different graphs of what the battery is doing. You can see the battery capacity. My nominal full is 79.7 kilowatt hours right now, and the full pack for me is 91.1 kilowatt hours. So I've lost about 8 kilowatt hours. It's expecting that it would be at 78 kilowatt hours, and right now it's at 74.7 usable kilowatt hours. Because remember, these batteries save a chunk to protect themselves from being bricked, which is good. And the voltages are pretty stable. They're all at minimum is 4.075 volts, and the maximum is 4.08 volts. So they're all within 0.08, 0.01 volts of each other. That is really good. Let me exit this, that way it doesn't block the car up. So yeah, so those are the two different Model X diagnostic tools I could tell you about. You got anything else on your side, Omar?
No, I don't have any diagnostic tools, but what was that app that I think it was Teslafy? You can get a lot of
Oh, I love Teslafy.
good
I've got
data
that
out
too.
of that. Um, it, it it's a lot cheaper than buying any type of tools, you know.
Absolutely. I've got a code on my gear page that will tell you a little bit more. Um, let's see. I can look at all of my charges. Let me see if I can get the summary. Yep, there we go. So we can see my AC charge total is 8.9 megawatt hours at a cost of $1,200. My DC charges, mostly supercharging, is 14.9 megawatt hours at a cost of $15.15 because, again, I've got free supercharging. And then all charges total is 23 megawatt hours.
I wish I had that data on
for
my
a total
car.
time.
I'd be
Right? For
really
a total,
curious to know how many megawatts.
hey, use my Tesla 5 referral code. So my car spent 84 days and 14 hours and 24 minutes charging. But don't forget that right now I charge on 12 amp, 120 volts, so it charges longer than it ought to. My
Now,
vehicle
does
had
that
a
get it?
72 amp onboard.
Does that just get the data from the time that you started using the app, or does it get retroly get
Yeah,
all the data from the car's computer?
from when you get the app. In
Okay.
fact, there for a while I actually had the data spilled in from my Model S in here until I realized how to put the date filter on it. So that was fun. But my car's got a 72 amp onboard charger, so when I plug into the proper power source, it doesn't take but 4 hours to fill up from empty to full. But on the 12 amp, it takes days to go from empty to full. So
Well,
my
yeah,
my numbers have been skewed now. Yeah,
yeah. I normally charge my car at 40 amps, so
that's not bad. That's what I used to do with my Model S as well. You got the single charger?
I do. I have the single charger.
Yep. And then your Model Y will be 48 amps. Tesla Model Y accessories YouTube. Well, most of the accessories I've reviewed on the channel here also work on the Model 3, Model S, and the Model Y. There are some items like the Jetta that are exclusive to the Model 3 and the Model Y that I haven't yet set up for. But what might be fun is we get Omar to do some on that Model Y. Somebody's
Well, I have
asking
to get
about
it
the Hummer
first,
EV.
so
This is true.
that's not set in
This is
stone
true.
yet. But
Oh, okay. They take their time to deliver.
that too.
the
But then again, they're
the
probably
Hummer
going to be quick if I get on it soon because they usually like to push out at
end of
end
the
of
quarter.
quarter.
Yeah, end of the quarter's coming up. It's coming up fast. Somebody asked about the Hummer EV top speed. That's very on topic, but I don't know. Do you know?
I don't know. I haven't seen the numbers on that.
I know it changes based on which one you get too. Um,
Yep.
let me see if I can't find it for you real quick. I get the range, I get the power, no speed. They might not have said what the top speed is yet, but we know it's over 90 because this is a GM we're talking about. Somebody said remote start on manual car. You can do it. You want to make sure you have an interlock so that if the car is not in neutral, it doesn't go. Otherwise, you remote start a manual car, and if it successfully starts, it'll launch itself forward or backward, depending on what gear you left it in. It's recommended that you park a manual car in gear so that if it wants to roll, it doesn't roll. So it's not
Well,
recommended
if you're
that you do
parked on a
remote start
hill,
on a manual car. Yeah,
if
if you're parked on
if
a
you
hill
have a lot of
too.
flat land, then you just park in flat. You know.
Yeah,
But then again, yeah, you probably should park it in gear anyway because if the brake fails, it'll start rolling.
exactly. And some of those brakes are super cheesy. To make the car smell funny, lever. Who said that? Mitch Hedberg. The real model over 40. I'm assuming you mean like a rear-wheel drive model something. So the Model S 40 was a rear-wheel drive. Model S 60 with the battery pack, software capped to 40 kilowatt hours. But the good thing about those, you could run them at 100% all the time because there was such a headroom between empty and full. Or
And you don't have to
full
worry about
and real
degradation.
full. Exactly, because it has a space to get that from. Somebody said S3XY. Yes, sexy model lineup. Somebody else said Model S crashes into tree. We did get actually an update on that from the fire department, where they went into more about what happened and explained that again that they did not call Tesla for help and that they knew what to do. Douse it with water, get it cool. The $25,000 Tesla. That's the one I call the timeshare Model 3 because in order to get it, you have to order a Model 3 Standard Range Plus, and then you have to, before you give any money, you call into Tesla and you get them to change it to Model 3 Standard Range regular. And in order to get them to do that, they're going to try and upsell you first. So I call it the timeshare pitch because you got to sit through that for a minute. I keep telling them, no, I don't want it extra. No, I don't want heated seats. No, I don't want this, that, and the other. And then they turn off all the stuff and send your car down the line. At that point, you give them the build fee of $5,000 and you're good to go.
Well, that's for the
model.
So that's the $35,000 one that you were just talking about, right, Casey? So
oh yeah, I was talking about $35,000. You're right.
$25K. That's not
the
out
Model
yet.
Next.
So that's going to be
Yeah.
They haven't named it yet. There's nobody knows anything about it yet. There's no real announcements. So that's like a goal that they want to get to, and that's going to be based on the fact of their battery advancements that they're making over the next couple years. So you're not going to see that for probably 3 or more years.
Yeah, that's the one that Patrick and I call the Model Next. We call it that because it's not called the Model 2. It's not going to be called Model anything, but it's going to be their next model. So Model Next sounds fun. It's going to happen. It's probably going to come out of China because that's what they told us. They'll probably build them in China and ship them worldwide. They may add them to other gigafactories. We'll see. But it'll be there. It'll be real. It'll be fun. But it's going to be on Tesla time. So
right.
soon, but not as soon as you would hope. Tesla Model S batteries. The new ones are going to be the current batteries, like the 18650s, maybe the 2170s, but they're not going to be the 4860s because the Model S Plaid is only adding the motor and a couple of other hardware tweaks. They're not adding the new battery to that car yet. Hummer EV towing capacity.
So it's supposed to have like what, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque or something. So
yeah, at least 10,000 pounds of towing. 7,500 to 11,000 pounds. Wait, no, that's a Cybertruck. That was from Car and Driver. Thanks, Car and Driver. All right, so the R1T and R1S models. Oh, no. Okay, I see what they're doing. They're saying to be competitive with Rivian and Cybertruck, they need to have between 7,500 and 11,000 pounds towing capacity, as well as a payload capacity of 500 to 3,500 pounds. So if Car and Driver doesn't know, I'm assuming that means they haven't said it either, just like that top speed. Unseen footage, bloopers, and outtakes. So if you want to join down below next to the subscribe button, join the channel members, I actually do post some bloopers and outtakes in that medium. I haven't done as many as I would like because I want more members to make it worth the while. But there are a few there if you join up today, and if we get more members, I'll make more of them. I promise you. Because I make mistakes and I cut them out. LED whip lights company. I don't know the company to make LED whip lights, but it sounds like it would look cool. And the Tesla Model S in Norwegian. It does great there. It's one of their top selling cars until the Model 3 came out, and now the Model 3 is like the top. So
yeah, EVs are super popular in Norway.
Yeah, and I think you get a tax credit or tax break.
In fact, I think EVs are outselling gas cars over there by a lot. Mm-hmm. I think it's by a lot too. They get a lot of incentives.
They've got a combustion ban coming up, don't they?
I think they do. Yeah.
Yeah, like 2040, 2035, something like that. So basically, to the point where people are taking their used fossil cars to the mainland Europe to sell them there because the value
you can't get anything for them. So yeah, their value is
nobody
nothing.
Wants to be a bag holder. Yeah, nobody wants to be holding the bag when that ban comes through, and then have to figure out what to do with their car after that. I don't think that they ban the use of the fossil car, but they're banning new stations, they're banning new sales, and then at that point, if you're the guy who has that last gas car, and you're done with it, you want to get your EV, there's nobody to sell it to. You have to figure out how to dispose of it. And so I think that's what we're starting to see there, because their fossil prices are just going down on the used market.
Yep.
All right. Did you got anything to tell the group before we go?
So I'm going to be selling my my Model S. That's going to be for sale. It's 2013. Like I said, 127K miles. A non-smoker. I have no pets and no kids, so it's very well taken care of. Garage kept. But it does have a lot of highway miles on it. So like I said earlier, little bit of chip marks and stuff on the hood from the road, but other than that, it's great
Yeah.
shape. It's never let me down. It's great car. It's reliable. There's nothing wrong with it. So
Yeah, it's got the new sonic turbine wheels like my Model X has. You've
I
upgraded
recently
the
just
mirrors to the power mirrors.
right. So I recently got the new wheels. So the tires and wheels are new. Yeah, I upgraded because in 2013 it was a little bit different. But so I upgraded to the auto fold mirrors. I upgraded from 3G to LTE. So so it has that.
Yeah,
It is grandfathered in with the free
got new MCU.
supercharging.
Yeah,
It's upgraded. It's grandfathered in with the free supercharging and the free
for the car for life
premium data for the life of the car.
connectivity. Hmm.
Yep.
And then you've got the navigation package, because that wasn't always included before.
Yes, it had the tech package
Yeah,
at the time. So and it had the cold weather package and also have the sunroof, which they
yeah.
no
Oh,
longer
the
have a
sunroof.
car. They no longer make cars with sunroofs anymore. So that's a nice feature. I'm gonna miss that.
It is. Yeah. And then you got a new MCU as well a couple years ago, right?
So yeah, a few years ago my MCU failed and I got it replaced. So that's like 3 years old.
Okay, so it doesn't have that same situation that the early cars had with their wearing out the MCU, or is that what took it out, or was it another error?
No, it was that. I guess the memory filled up on it, and it got it
Mad.
just died. It just literally died.
Yeah.
They had
So
an
it's always nice to
overwrite
have that,
issue or
because
something with the memory and the
mm,
overwrite, and after so many times of rewrites or something, they failed.
yeah, and it's still got some time left on the 8-year unlimited on the battery and the motor, right?
Yes, yes.
Some.
Got till October on that.
All right, that's not bad. Drive it hard and find out if there's anything when you buy that car. For me, we've got episode 200 of the Tesla Life show coming up on Wednesday at 7 over at the Tesla Life channel on YouTube. And then obviously we'll make that into a podcast after it's over at caseygreen.com/TTL. That's all lowercase. That's the podcast. But I think there's still some room, and we're going to have some special guests. So if you want to be on that show, get a hold of Mark Coughlin on Twitter. That's at the Tesla Life on Twitter. Let him know you want to be on the show. Do you have time for that? You want to be on that, Omar?
When is that going to be?
Wednesday at 7.
I might be able to join you.
All right, I'll put in a word to make sure if he's not full, I'll get you on there. And yeah, so if it's not full yet, and Omar doesn't take the last spot, and you want to be on the show, get a hold of Mark, and we're having guests on that show. It's gonna be a special show number 200, and with
That's
that,
awesome
we
milestone
will
there,
catch
200.
you. Absolutely. And with that, we'll catch you on the flip side.